mention something briefly though about the utility of our being here. It's fantastic to see we've got a bit of the media here. The role of this kind of small protest is to break into the news cycle, to give the media something to show which they otherwise mightn't have footage for. Doesn't always work. We have to keep on calling these snap actions. Sometimes we get publicity for them, sometimes we don't, but every one of them builds the grassroots refugee campaign, because the seeds of hope for a change in Australian refugee policy lie among us here now. We've got to not allow this protest to be the end of our advocacy for Faisal and other refugees. We've got to take the leaflets, which we've got copies of, we've got to take some home with us, we've got to distribute them, we've got to talk to people about coming to this protest, encourage them to come along to the next one. We've got to sign up with the Refugee Action Coalition. There's been a sign-up sheet going around. Like us on Facebook, sign up for our email list. Please do everything you can to involve yourself with the grassroots campaign for refugee rights, because if one thing is clear, it's that there's no change to this issue that's going to come from Parliament. And I was very struck to read the words of Richard Marles, the opposition spokesman for immigration, just the other day, in response to the fact that Morrison is now announcing draconian new measures which detainees on bridging visas, or refugees in bridging visas in the community, will be subject to. People risk being slapped back into detention or even sent to Nauru and Manus Island if they disturb their neighbours, if they're living in flats with more than 5 people in them, which of course they have no choice to, given the appalling pittance, which is the only support that the government's prepared to give them. Miles, in response to this, said this. He said that the code and definition of antisocial behaviour that Morrison has just announced, quote, reeks of being mean for the sake of it. Miles said, one of the key standards in Australia, he thinks, is the standard of fairness. A standard where you don't break the law without being tested, put in detention or even set offshore is concerning. Well, where were those sentiments when Labor was in power? Where were those sentiments? Where was that commitment to fairness? Where was that commitment to decency? Where was that commitment to giving people the rights that they should enjoy under any reasonable definition of natural justice? It's the ALP that has paved the way for the depredations that we're seeing today, in spite of many people in the ALP rank and file who we're very happy to have with us today. What it shows, I think, is that there is no issue to this appalling deadlock, this iron-like, vice-like grip over refugee policy that is not going to come from the grassroots. It's up to us, the public, to put pressure on politicians so that both sides have to change and have to wind back from this absolute blight, this poison that they're inflicting on our society. Is there any wonder that we're seeing a spike in ugly and pitiful racist violence in Australia? No, there's not. There's no surprise about that in a climate where refugees, who of course are mainly brown skinned, are continually vilified by the most powerful and the most important people in our society. And that's a situation which only we can fix. Thanks very much for being here. Let's keep in mind the lawyer, Zali Burrows, tomorrow, who will be putting Faisal's case before the court and arguing why he needs to be kept in Australia. Let's hope that our protest today has created some pressure around that, and let's all end off with some chants. Don't deport Faisal! 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 Don't deport